I opened my eyes to the sound of someone else's laughter in her voice. The room was quiet, sterile, lit by white fluorescence that stung my half-blinded vision. Tubes pressed into my veins, and a monitor beeped with the rhythm of a heart that had refused to quit. Mine, for her, for Linda. I had coded twice, flatlined once, spent 368 days in a coma, clutching onto every memory of Linda's voice like an anchor. She had whispered through the fog, told me she'd never give up on me, promised she'd be waiting when I woke up. But when I did, she wasn't. "Roger?" A voice broke through the silence. It wasn't her. It was Carol, my sister, eyes wide, voice trembling. Her hands flew to her mouth as she rushed to my side, tears spilling faster than words. "You're awake. Oh my God, you're awake." I tried to speak. My throat was dry, cracked open like desert sand. All I could rasp was, "Where's Linda?" Carol froze. I saw it then. The guilt. She's not here," she whispered. "She was here, I heard her." "No, that wasn't..." She cut herself off. "She hasn't been here in months." The monitor beeped faster. "I don't understand." Carol looked away, then looked back with glassy eyes that didn't lie. "Roger. Linda moved on. She's with Joshua now." The name slapped me harder than any defibrillator ever could. Joshua. My best friend. My best man. My blood ran cold. I tried to sit up, but my body betrayed me, too weak from the war it had fought. "She promised," I muttered. "She said she'd wait." "She did wait," Carol said gently. "For a while. But she thought you weren't coming back." "I never stopped fighting," I said. "Not 1 second." Carol touched my hand. "I know." Silence pressed heavy between us. "She lives with him?" I asked. Carol nodded. "They moved in 4 months ago." "And she never came back, not even once?" "Not since she changed her number." My breath hitched. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear the wires out of my arms and run until my legs collapsed, but all I could do was lie there, fully conscious, fully betrayed. "She didn't even wait for my funeral," I whispered. "You didn't die," Carol said. "But she mourned like you did, and then she replaced you like you never existed." I turned my head, stared at the ceiling, cold, white, unforgiving. "Joshua knew," I said. "He knew I loved her more than I loved my own damn life." Carol nodded again. "He never stopped visiting her." The monitor screamed. I didn't care. Nurses rushed in, shouting. They tried to calm me, but no sedative could numb this. I didn't wake up to a miracle. I woke up to betrayal wrapped in Joshua's arms and Linda's laughter. That's when I realized I hadn't come back from the dead. I'd woken up into someone else's dream. My name is Roger Pierce. 32 years old, architect, son of no one famous, heir to nothing grand, but I had one thing most men spend their entire lives chasing: certainty. I was certain of who I loved, certain of the future I wanted, certain that Linda and I would grow old together, and that one day I'd tell our kids that I had survived death just to see their mother smile. I met Linda when we were 19. First semester of college, pouring rain, and I had forgotten my umbrella like an idiot. She didn't say anything, just walked up beside me and held hers over both our heads. Her fingers brushed mine by accident. I looked at her. She looked away. From that moment, she was it. Linda Reynolds. Sharp, stubborn, fiercely independent. She had this presence that turned chaos into clarity. She was the kind of person who made you want to become your best self just by standing next to her. We didn't date right away. It took 2 years. 2 years of late-night study sessions, her stealing my hoodie, me walking her home even when she insisted she didn't need company. Then one night, she kissed me on the rooftop of the library and said, "Stop waiting, you've already got me." After that, everything moved like a current we both trusted. We graduated together, moved into a tiny one-bedroom on the east side, split rent and leftovers and dreams. I worked at a mid-tier architecture firm. She got a marketing job downtown. We didn't have much, but we had enough. And then came the diagnosis. A congenital heart defect, one that had been silent my whole life until it wasn't. It came with fainting spells, fatigue, and a cardiologist who said, if you don't get surgery, your chances of seeing 40 are slim. Linda didn't blink. "We're doing the surgery," she said. "I don't care if I have to hold your hand through every hour of recovery." And she did. Pre-op, she was there. Post-op, she was on the side. As there, except fate decided to flip the script, a minor complication, internal bleeding, then came the coma, they said 3 days, then 7, then 30, then they stopped giving estimates. Every time I surfaced, even for a second, I heard her voice. I'm right here, Roger, please come back. And so I did. I fought, through the pain, the hallucinations, the nothingness, I kept climbing, I kept pushing, because I believed she'd be waiting. But when I finally opened my eyes, it wasn't Linda who greeted me, it was Carol. Carol's my younger sister by 2 years, but she's always felt older, calmer, stronger. The one who knew when to speak, and more importantly, when not to. She was there when our parents died in that crash. She was there when I dropped out of my PhD to take care of her, and she was there when Linda entered my life. They never got along. Linda used to say Carol was too suspicious. Carol used to say Linda was too self-centered. I used to stand in the middle, trying to hold both without letting either slip through my fingers. But when I woke up, only one of them had kept her promise. I looked into Carol's eyes the morning after I regained full consciousness. She didn't speak right away, just sat in the chair beside me, holding a cup of hospital coffee, and waited. "Where's Linda?" I finally asked. Her mouth twitched. "She's not here." "She'll come later?" Carol shook her head. "She hasn't been here in months." My mouth went dry. "What?" "She stopped coming around month 4, said it was too painful." I stared at her, unable to blink. "She told me she'd wait." "I know," Carol said quietly. I didn't ask more, not then, but over the next few days, the truth trickled in like poison drip. Linda hadn't just moved on emotionally, she had moved out, moved in, with someone else, with Joshua. Joshua and I went back a decade. We weren't brothers, but we were the kind of friends who covered for each other in every way. He was the first person I told when I got the diagnosis. He said, "You'll beat it, if anyone can, you will." He was there the morning of the surgery, he sat in the waiting room beside Linda. And then, after I didn't wake up, he took my place. I tried to rationalize it, tried to tell myself grief makes people desperate, needy, confused, but the truth was uglier than that. Carol showed me photos, they were everywhere. Social media, group chats, dinner parties, Linda, her hand in his, Joshua kissing her cheek, her head on his shoulder in my hospital's parking lot. What do you do when the life you fought to return to doesn't want you anymore? You learn to walk again, alone. I spent 2 more months in the hospital. Every day, Carol visited, helped me eat, bathe, relearn how to sit without falling over. She never mentioned Linda unless I asked, but her silence carried its own weight. One night, I asked, "Did she ever cry?" Carol nodded. "She cried the day you went into the coma." "And after?" "She cried the day she left." "Because she was heartbroken?" "No," Carol said flatly. "Because she felt guilty." I didn't speak after that, not for the rest of the night. But I didn't forget. They say near-death changes people, that it makes you softer, grateful, forgiving. It didn't do that to me. It made me sharper, clearer, cold in a way that terrified me, but also finally made me understand myself. I didn't want Linda back, I didn't want revenge, I just wanted the truth. I wanted to look her in the eyes and ask, "At what point did you decide I wasn't worth the wait?" And if she had an answer, I'd listen, but if she didn't, I'd never speak to her again. 3 days after I was discharged, I got a letter, no return address, but I recognized the handwriting, Linda's. I didn't open it, I didn't need to. Joshua called me 2 hours later. I let it ring until voicemail picked up. He left a message. "Hey Raj, I heard you're out, just wanted to say, there's no easy way to explain what happened. We didn't plan any of this, it just happened. I hope we can talk." I saved the message. Not to forgive him, but to remember how betrayal sounds when it pretends to be regret. Carol found me outside later that evening, staring at the sky like I used to when I was a boy. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Regret what?" "Loving her." I thought about it. About the rooftop, the way she kissed me, the way she said, "You've already got me." "No," I said. "I regret thinking that was enough." It was a Thursday afternoon when the hospital officially cleared me for home rest. Carol helped me into her car, folding the wheelchair in the trunk like she'd done it 100 times. The sun was warm, too warm, it hit my skin like a lie. Like everything was pretending to be okay. but I wasn't. And nothing around me felt real anymore. We didn't speak on the drive. I stared out the window while Carol adjusted the music volume twice and eventually turned it off. She always understood silence. It was one of her strengths. She pulled up outside the small studio she'd found for me. Minimalist, clean, no memory of Linda, no scent of her shampoo, no ghost of her laugh. I liked that. Need help inside? Carol asked. I shook my head. I need to try this on my own. She nodded. I'll bring groceries tomorrow. When she drove off, I just stood there for a long time. The keys were in my hand, the door in front of me, but all I could think about was that Joshua had probably stood like this once too, nervous, breath held, waiting for Linda to open the door, and she did, for him. I shook off the thought, stepped inside, and shut the world out. That night, I dreamt of the rooftop. Linda in a red hoodie, holding a melted ice cream cone, her laughter echoing between the campus towers. Promise me one thing, she had said, licking chocolate off her finger. Anything, I replied. If something ever happens to you, don't you dare leave me behind. You fight your way back, no matter what. I woke up gasping. By morning, my inbox was full. Joshua. Please man, let's talk, I know I screwed up. Linda. No message, just a missed call. Carol. Don't respond to them unless you want to, they made their choices. I ignored all of it, until that evening. I was walking to the pharmacy when I saw them. Linda and Joshua. Hand in hand, laughing, waiting at the corner for the light to change. I froze. He didn't see me. Joshua leaned in and whispered something that made Linda smile, her real smile, the one I thought only I could bring out. Then he kissed her temple, and she tilted her head to rest on his shoulder like she'd done 100 times with me. I turned before they could see me. I walked in the opposite direction, my legs trembling beneath me. I made it home without collapsing. Barely. That night, I stared at the ceiling again, just like I had in the hospital. Except this time, I wasn't wondering where Linda was, I knew, and it hurt more. The next morning, she showed up at my door, just like that. A gentle knock. I opened it. She was wearing beige again, a color that looked safe on her, a color she never used to wear around me. Her eyes scanned me from head to toe. You've lost weight. No thanks to you. Can we talk? You have 3 minutes. She stepped inside like she still had the right. I didn't stop her. I thought you weren't going to make it, she said. But I did. She looked down. I waited for months. And then stopped waiting. You were unconscious, Roger. There was no progress, no signs. It was like you were already gone. But I wasn't. She met my eyes. I know that now. No, I said. You knew it then. You just didn't care anymore. Don't do that. Don't what? State facts? Remind you that you promised to wait and then moved on with the one person I trusted most? She stiffened. Joshua never intended to. I don't care what he intended. He did it. Her voice cracked. I was broken. I needed someone. Then you should have chosen someone who wasn't wearing my shoes when I was still in a hospital bed. Silence stretched thin between us. I didn't plan it, she said. But you followed through. I tried to visit. Why'd you stop? She hesitated. Because I knew what I did. And I couldn't look at you. I laughed bitterly. Well, now you are. I didn't stop loving you, she said softly. No, I snapped. You stopped respecting me, and that's worse. She stepped back. Maybe I was weak. You weren't weak, you were selfish. Her eyes flared. I was grieving. I stepped closer. Grief doesn't come with hotel receipts and toothbrushes at your ex's house. Her voice broke into a whisper. I made a mistake. I opened the door. Yeah, you did. She didn't leave immediately. She stood there, eyes red, fists clenched. Then she said, Do you still love me? I didn't answer. Because even if the answer was yes, it didn't matter anymore. That night, I got drunk for the first time in months. Not because I missed her, but because I missed what we were, the rooftop, the ice cream. The girl who used to say, if I ever lose you, I'll lose myself. Now she'd lost me and looked perfectly found. 3 days later, Joshua came to my door. He looked thinner, like guilt had been eating at him. Roger, he said, don't slam the door, just let me speak. I didn't slam the door. Because I wanted to hear it, from his own mouth. I'm sorry, he said. It just happened. No, I said. It didn't just happen. You let it. I visited her a lot. She was falling apart. And you helped her fall into your bed. Don't say it like that. Why not? It's what you did. He rubbed his face. I didn't mean to fall for her, I swear. But you did. He didn't argue. I stepped forward. Do you love her? He hesitated. Joshua, do you love her? I don't know. That was all I needed to hear. I don't hate you, I said. But I will never trust you again. He nodded, eyes low. I deserve that. You deserve worse. He didn't reply. And then he left. Carol came over that evening. She didn't ask questions, just sat beside me on the floor, our backs against the wall. After a while, she said, "You're handling this better than I thought." I looked down at my hands. "I'm not handling anything," I said. "I'm just tired of bleeding for people who bring their own knives. Pain is a strange thing. It has no clock, no expiration date. You wake up one day thinking it's dulled, finally numbed itself out, only to have it flood back without warning, triggered by a color, a laugh, a memory, a smell. That week, I was haunted by the scent of cinnamon shampoo, the same brand Linda used. It clung to a stranger's coat as they passed me in the hallway. Just that whiff was enough to send my heart racing, body freezing, breath catching, like I'd just been punched in the chest. I locked myself in the apartment after that. I stopped replying to Carol's texts. I didn't answer Linda's calls. I let Joshua's name sit on the call log, unacknowledged. Because even though I had survived everything medically, emotionally, I was still drowning. There were no monitors now, no nurses to check on me every 3 hours, no sedatives to dull the storm. Just me. My memories. My betrayal. My heartbeat still trying to convince me it was worth it. Some nights, I couldn't sleep. Other nights, I didn't even try. I just sat by the window, watching the street lamps flicker. Watching the world move on, pretending mine hadn't stopped. I kept wondering if I had died, maybe only a little. Maybe not physically, but spiritually. Like some part of me was still lying on that hospital bed, stuck somewhere between brain activity and a flatline. And I hated that I still loved her. I hated that even after everything, after waking up to find the woman I fought for was now curled up in another man's arms, I still dreamed of her voice. Still remembered the way her fingers would trace little circles on my wrist when she couldn't sleep. Still remembered the way she said home and meant me. Was that all fake? A rehearsal? A test run for someone better? Or worse, did I just not matter anymore? It's hard not to ask those questions when your chest feels like an abandoned house, echoes everywhere. No wild cloud. Armed left, only drafts and splinters. Carol finally came over after a full week of silence. She let herself in with the spare key I forgot I gave her. The lights were off. She didn't say anything at first, just sat beside me on the floor where I had fallen asleep in front of the couch. When I finally spoke, my voice sounded foreign. You ever feel like everything you believed in was just a well-written lie? Carol didn't ask me to explain, she just nodded. She said she loved me, I whispered. I know. She said she'd wait. She didn't. She chose Joshua. Yes. And he let her. They both did. I closed my eyes. So why do I still miss her? Because you loved her, and love doesn't just vanish because someone stops deserving it. I looked over at her. Do you think she regrets it? Carol leaned her head back against the wall. I think she regrets not getting away with it clean. I laughed, but it came out broken. That's the worst part. I would have forgiven her if she just admitted she didn't love me anymore, but she acts like she's still the victim. She always played that role well. She said she was lonely, said she needed someone. You were someone. Apparently not enough. I wiped my face with the sleeve of the same hoodie I wore during recovery, the same one Linda once cried into when she thought I wouldn't wake up. Now it just smelled like dust and detachment. I hate feeling like this, I muttered. Carol didn't pretend to fix it. That's what I appreciated about her. No fake positivity, no sugarcoating, just presence. You're allowed to grieve, she said. But I didn't lose her, she threw me away. Same thing. I stayed quiet for a long time, then finally said, "What do I do now?" Carol shrugged. "That's up to you." I want to scream. Then scream. I want to vanish. Don't. I want to erase every part of her from my body, from my memories, from my skin. Carol looked at me, eyes steady. "You can't, but you can stop bleeding." "How?" "Start building." I let the words settle. Start building. I used to know how to build structures, projects, ideas, dreams. Maybe I could start again, just not with her, not with Joshua, not in the shadow of what was lost. The next morning, I pulled out my old sketchbook, the one Linda had once gifted me with a handwritten note, for the architect of my heart. The irony made me sick. Still, I turned the page, started sketching. Not a building, not a house, just lines, broken, jagged, chaotic, honest. It felt good, like exhaling after holding your breath too long. Later that day, I opened my messages. There were 10 from Linda. I didn't read them. 1 from Joshua, a voice note. I deleted it. 3 from Carol. I replied, "Thanks for not giving up on me." She sent back a heart emoji and a meme of a raccoon in a hoodie eating cereal. I smiled. For the first time in days, I smiled, but that peace didn't last, not when Linda showed up again. This time she didn't knock. She buzzed the building until a neighbor let her in. I opened the door to her standing there, eyes wide, hands shaking. "You ignored my messages." "Correct." I needed to explain. "No, you needed to confess." She stepped forward. "Roger, please, you have no idea how hard it's been." I didn't move. "You think this is about difficulty?" "I made a mistake." "You made a choice." I was scared. And I was dying. Her voice broke. "I didn't mean to fall for him." "But you did, and you didn't even have the decency to wait for the funeral." "That's not fair." I laughed. "Neither is waking up alone." She swallowed hard. "I never stopped thinking about you." "That doesn't mean you loved me." "I still do." "No," I said. "You love the version of me that didn't survive this." Tears streamed down her face. "Do you hate me?" I looked at her for a long time, at the woman I once believed was my whole future, at the eyes I used to kiss before falling asleep. "No," I said. Relief flickered. "I pity you." It disappeared. I stepped back. She didn't follow. "Goodbye, Linda." The door clicked shut with the finality she never expected. Inside, my heart pounded. But this time, it wasn't because of her. It was because I meant every word. It was supposed to be a fresh start. 2 weeks had passed since I slammed the door on Linda for the final time. I'd been doing better, sketching more, eating properly, walking outside without watching every shadow like it might be hers. Carol even dragged me to a small creative expo on the edge of town, said it would be good for me to see new faces. I didn't argue. I was tired of being a ghost in my own apartment. I wanted to breathe something that didn't smell like regret. The expo was lively, artists, designers, developers, all showcasing their work. I recognized a few faces from my university days. I smiled, shook hands, talked about projects. For the first time in months, I felt like Roger again, not the coma patient, not the ex, just a man rediscovering the world. That illusion shattered at booth 42. I was admiring a scale model of a luxury high-rise project, sleek lines, eco-integrated design, rooftop green space with wind turbines. It was good, too good. The placard said, "Lead design by Joshua Hart, co-concept by Linda Reynolds." My stomach dropped. I blinked, stared harder, praying I was wrong. But no. There it was. Linda, listed as a co-designer on an architecture project. My project. Because I knew this design. I had sketched it, months ago, before the surgery. I had shown it to Linda, excited, even scribbled parts of it on napkins at dinner. She said it was the most elegant thing I'd ever done. Now it was real, but not with my name on it. Joshua's. They didn't just move on from me emotionally. They stole from me. I backed away from the booth like I'd touched a flame. My heart slammed against my ribs as if it could break out of my chest to attack them itself. Carol was a few steps behind me. "What's wrong?" I didn't answer. I turned, walked straight out of the expo, lungs heaving like I'd just run a marathon. We got to the car and I sat in silence. Carol didn't. To press. I handed her my phone, showed her the project photo I'd secretly snapped. Her face went blank. "That's yours," she said. "I know. She watched you design it. She watched me bleed for it. And now she's cashing in with Joshua?" I didn't speak. Because I wasn't sure if I could do so without screaming. "Do you want to sue?" I shook my head. "I want them to think they've won." Carol stared at me. "What are you planning?" "Something better than a courtroom." I didn't sleep that night. I opened every folder, every sketchbook, every email I'd saved from before the surgery. I found the date-stamped drafts of the design, the renderings, the outlines, all with my metadata. I uploaded them to an encrypted drive. Not to leak, not yet, but to hold. Because power in silence is the most dangerous kind. The next day, I sent a formal message to Joshua's company, under a new pseudonym, a pretend investor, asking for a meeting. They replied within 3 hours, eager, greedy. I smiled, but things didn't stop there, because Linda came to my building again, this time, not in beige, this time, dressed for war, black boots, red lipstick, jaw clenched. I opened the door, only slightly. She shoved a document in my hand. "Please tell me this isn't yours." I looked down. It was the building plan, the same one I'd designed, with Joshua's name at the top. Only now, it had been flagged for plagiarism. The legal team had received an anonymous inquiry asking if Joshua could prove he originated the design. I leaned against the door. "Why are you asking me?" She looked betrayed, furious. "Because no one else had the original, but you and me. You helped him steal it." "I didn't steal anything. You were there when I drew it, when I poured myself into it. I just thought it was a coincidence." "You think Joshua accidentally designed something I created a year ago down to the angles and foundation layout?" She didn't respond. I stepped closer. "The world doesn't work in coincidences, Linda. You should know that by now." Her voice cracked. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you didn't just break me. You tried to bury me. Now I'm standing. And I'm remembering everything you took." She blinked. "You never said it was confidential." "I didn't think I needed to." Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't know." "You knew. You just didn't care." Then she did something I never saw coming. She fell to her knees. Not out of drama, but out of collapse. "I thought you were gone," she whispered. "I thought I was alone. I made the wrong choices. I see that now. But Joshua, he told me he came up with the concept on his own. I didn't know it was yours." "I sweet, or to God, Roger." I stared at her. I wanted to believe her, but I had believed her before, and that's what got me into this mess. "I need you to leave. Roger." I didn't raise my voice, I didn't curse, I didn't slam the door. I just said, "I gave you everything, and now I'm giving you nothing." She stood slowly, shaking. Then she whispered, "I never stopped loving you." And I replied, "I stopped needing that love the moment you gave it away." I closed the door, locked it. Went back to my desk, uploaded one more file, the final signed concept sheet. This time, I didn't encrypt it. I sent it directly to the Expo committee with a formal complaint. Let them decide. The call came on a Thursday morning. I was pouring coffee when Carol burst through the door with her phone in hand, eyes wild. "It's happening," she said, breathless. I took her phone. The headline was already viral. "Breaking, rising design firm under investigation for stolen blueprints, lead architect accused of plagiarism." Below the title, a photo of Joshua. His signature smirk replaced by a look of panic as he exited his office, surrounded by flashing cameras and silence. Linda wasn't in the picture, but her name was in the article, co-concept contributor under inquiry, awaiting comment. I scrolled further. The committee had traced every digital timestamp back to me, anonymous or not. The data spoke. The truth didn't need a name when the architecture drew its own testimony. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I sat down, coffee untouched, eyes frozen on the screen. Carol sat beside me. "You okay?" I nodded. "This is what justice feels like, I guess." But it didn't feel like justice. It felt like ash in my mouth. 2 hours later, I got a call. I let it ring once, twice, then answered. Roger speaking? There was a pause, then a voice I knew all too well. You won. Joshua's voice wasn't calm or angry, it was empty. I didn't win anything, I said. You lost everything you stole. Another pause. I made a mistake. Yeah, I said. You made about 6 of them. She's gone, he muttered. I stiffened. What? Linda, he said. She left, packed everything, said she didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't respond. I didn't mean to take your design, he continued. I wanted one win, one thing of my own. It was never yours to take. I know that now. Silence stretched long, then, like a coward, he hung up. Not even the decency to let me respond. That afternoon, the company issued a public apology and severed all ties with Joshua Hart. The committee vet the design from the showcase and announced an internal review of all past submissions. My name was now unofficially attached to a ghost project, one that would never be built, but one that finally had a face behind it. Mine. I thought that would be the end of it. But then came the knock. Not frantic, not timid, just certain. I opened the door and found Linda standing there. No makeup, no heels, no polished war paint, just jeans, a hoodie, and tired eyes. You have 5 minutes, I said. She stepped inside. I left him, she said immediately. I heard. I didn't know he'd stolen your work. I believe you, doesn't mean I forgive you. She nodded. I understand. She stood there for a while, looking at the space, at the canvas on the wall, the drafting table, the sketchbooks. You rebuilt everything. No, I said, I started over. She looked at me then, really looked. You've changed. You haven't. That hit her, I saw it, the flicker in her throat when she swallowed her shame. I didn't come here to beg, she said, I came here to explain. I crossed my arms, I don't need it. But I need to say it. I stayed silent. I wasn't thinking clearly, she began. After the surgery, the coma, I thought I lost you, and Joshua was there. He made it easy not to think, not to feel. He made me forget how much I loved you. You loved me when it was easy. No, she said, I loved you when it was real, but I ran when it got too real. I didn't move, I didn't blink. She stepped closer. I never stopped carrying you. Carrying me, I snapped. You carried my locket into his bed. She flinched. I deserved that. You deserve worse. I know. She looked down. I left him because I couldn't pretend anymore, she said, because every time he smiled, I saw what he took, and every time I kissed him, I tasted what I gave up. Guilt isn't love, Linda. I'm not asking for love, she whispered. I'm asking for a moment. A moment for what? To let me look at the man I should have waited for, the man I still see when I close my eyes. I let her. She looked. I stood still. When she finally spoke again, her voice was shaking. Do you remember that night on the rooftop? When I kissed you and said stop waiting, you already had me? I nodded once. I lied, she whispered. You never had me, not fully. I was always scared, scared that you'd leave me, scared that you were too good for me, scared that the kind of love you gave was more than I could hold. And so you dropped it, I said. She nodded, tears on her cheeks. I dropped it, and now I live every day wishing I could go back. You can't. I know. I stepped aside, opened the door. She stood at the threshold. I don't hate you, I said quietly, but I'm not yours anymore. Her chin trembled. I never deserved you. No, I said, but I still gave you everything. I'm sorry, Roger. I nodded. So am I. She left. This time, for good. I sat back down at my desk, picked up my pen. Beneath the page of rough sketches, I wrote something in the corner. Storms don't come to break you, they come to clear the path. That night, Carol brought Chinese takeout and said nothing, just sat beside me like she always had. I showed her my new design. She looked at it carefully, then smiled. This one's yours, she said. And I replied, every inch. 3 months passed. In that time, Joshua vanished from the public eye. The firm that once paraded him as their golden boy was now bleeding contracts, their name tangled in lawsuit threats and broken trust. Last I heard, he tried launching a freelance studio overseas, no traction, no clients. Word travels fast when you're the man who got caught with stolen blueprints and someone else's fiancé. Linda stayed silent after our final conversation. She didn't come back, didn't call, didn't hover in my shadows again. Whether out of shame or some final shred of dignity, I'll never know. But that silence was the only apology that ever felt real. As for me, I rebuilt. I accepted an offer from a New York firm, senior design strategist, high-profile clients, travel included. They flew me out for meetings, signed me to a 3-year creative lead contract, and gave me the team I once dreamed of. But I made one thing clear: I don't work in anyone's shadow. I don't borrow, I don't blend, and I never share credit for ideas that are mine. They respected that. My name started appearing in industry write-ups, quietly, steadily, a slow resurgence, not a scandal-fueled rise, exactly how I wanted it. I took Carol with me to every celebration dinner, every launch event, every award ceremony. She was the one who believed before anyone else did, and I made sure the world knew that. Then one night, I got a message from a stranger, no name, just a burner account with a blank avatar. "You don't know me, but I was one of the interns under Joshua at your old firm. He always said you were too moral to survive long. Funny how that turned out. Thanks for showing us all that integrity doesn't mean weakness." I read it twice, then smiled. That was the first time I realized my story wasn't just mine anymore, it was becoming something bigger, but I wasn't done yet. I had one more move to make, one last say. Nature that would end the chapter with the kind of clean punctuation people remember. It happened 6 months after the scandal. I was sitting across from a major investor in a high-end downtown restaurant. The waiter had just brought us espresso when the man across from me smiled. "We'd like to offer you full rights to the Civic East redevelopment project." I blinked. That was the same plot of land that Joshua once bragged he'd redesign from scratch. "You're offering it to me?" "We were going to hand it to your old firm, but after everything that came out, well, they're toxic now. We want you, but we also know how personal this one might be, so, what do you say?" I didn't hesitate. "I'll take it, but under one condition." The investor raised an eyebrow. "Which is?" "I want full press control." Done. That night, I opened my old encrypted folder, the one that held every draft Joshua plagiarized. I deleted all of it. Then I opened a new sketch file. Fresh lines, a new foundation. Not a rebuild, a redesign. And this time, it would carry a signature he could never fake: truth. We broke ground on Civic East 4 months later. I was standing at the edge of the construction zone when a journalist asked if I had any personal connection to the property. I looked at the cranes, the beams, the men in hard hats reading blueprints I had personally stamped. Then said, "Only in the sense that betrayal built the foundation I now get to replace." The interview went viral. And then the letters started. From people like me, betrayed, underestimated, written off. People who thought silence was defeat until they saw what it could become when sharpened into action. Some called me a symbol of grace, others called me a blueprint for revenge. But I didn't care about either. Because one morning, while reviewing the Civic East Phase 2 plans in my penthouse studio, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it ring, picked it up on the 4th try. "Roger," the voice said. "Linda." I didn't say anything. She filled the silence. "I'm in therapy now. I know that doesn't fix anything. I just wanted you to know I finally started facing the part of me that destroyed what we had." Still, I said nothing. "I saw your name everywhere," she continued. "I didn't expect it to hurt this much, but it does." I waited. She exhaled. "I don't want anything from you, I swear, no second chance, no meeting, I needed to say I'm proud of you, even if I don't deserve to be." Then she hung up. I stared at the phone for a long time, no tears, no anger, no pain, just stillness. Later that day, I walked to the Civic East site. The building frame was up, a clean glass wall curved along the front, just like I'd imagined it back when I was young and reckless and hopelessly in love. I ran my hand along the edge of the metal beam, warm in the sun. Carol joined me minutes later. "They called," she said. Your old university wants you to give a guest lecture. About what? Failure, success, recovery, whatever you want. I thought about it, then smiled. Tell them I'll speak on this, how to lose everything and still end up winning. Carol laughed. You'll pack the auditorium. I better, I said. I've earned my place. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows behind us, I took one last look at the building's frame. And in that moment, I knew. This wasn't revenge, it was a restoration. They broke my body, took my voice, mocked my pain, tried to erase my work and rewrite my name with theirs. But I survived, and I had built something they could never touch, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity, because when they handed me their betrayal, I didn't hand them anger. I built an empire out of it. Stone by stone, and every time the world spoke my name, it reminded them of everything they lost when they let go of me.